to actually pick up on Twitch, but I believe we should be ready to start. Hello, everybody. I don't think anybody's joined yet, but if you're watching this rebroadcast, my name is Brett. Thanks for joining us. And on the line today, we have Luis, and he is one of the project co-founders. I believe it's you and your brother. Is that correct?
Hi, Brett, and everybody watching this. We were three guys that co-found this. In fact, the idea was of a third guy called Andreas. He was a professional trader. Uh, yeah, but I am one of the three. Yeah.
Okay, great. And if you aren't aware, Superalgos is the project we're talking about. You can find it on GitHub. It is open source. And Luis and I will be talking about the code base today. This is kind of a special stream for me. I don't usually do it at lunchtime during the workday, during the week, but here we are. So where would you like to get started, Luis?
Well, my idea is to see if we can explain a little bit to new developers coming to the project. They are finding a very big code base because we were working on this for 4 years, and is still not very well documented. So I will explain you which are the key components here and how to organize this code base in your mind. Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Okay.
I have to say, just coming from myself, joining the project, starting to contribute, I guess it's been about a year now, maybe a little bit less than that. I think it's always difficult and daunting whenever you're joining any new code base, any new project, kind of getting a grasp of where everything is, the layout of the project, the structure, where the project is going. So I think that this is going to be a very interesting discussion. I hope others agree.
Hopefully. Okay. Maybe you can share your screen, Brett,
Okay.
and I will start with the single file. The single, it's like, for me, is the backbone of all the whole project, and
Okay.
it's called project schema file.
Okay.
It's a JSON file that contains the definitions of all the modules that the project uses, right?
Okay.
So we are talking that the project is a node.js project. It's a node.js application, and
Mm-hmm.
almost everything is JavaScript here. Do you got it there?
I'm changing over to the develop branch now,
Okay.
and the project schema is under the projects directory, right?
Yes.
And project schema.json for everybody following at home. Um, just for everybody else following on the video, I am not presenting this to Luis, so he is doing it all from his memory right now.
I thought you were going to present it. Okay. Whatever.
Oh, I can share it with you too. That's no problem. So you can see where I am on the screen. It may look a little bit weird for everybody following along, but I
Oh, it's
can.
okay. It's okay.
No, no.
As you want.
Let's see here. So our videos are going to shrink a little bit, but now you can see what I'm looking at as well.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the single most important file, because it contains the core of all the definitions. To understand it, it's not difficult to understand. It's just a list and an array of projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's define projects, because this file, what it has, is organizes all these modules in two different dimensions. Okay.
Okay.
One is on the projects dimension, and the second dimension is on the application that is using those modules. Okay.
Sure.
And it's two things at the same time. That's why it might be a little bit confusing. But essentially, you can see there, well, I cannot see because it's very small, but the first project is, can you read the name?
How's that? Is that a
Algorithm
little better?
training. Yeah. Algorithmic trade, yeah, that's better. So what is a project for us? A project is a you can think about it like a library that has that has a team that works for it, okay, and at the same time pursues certain goal. For example, algorithmic trading. The goal of this is to enable trading bots inside the Superalgos applications, right?
Hmm.
We have also machine learning project that its goal is to enable machine learning to be part of the tools that we are building, right? So, so projects are essentially libraries, and we organize them in this file. And at the same time, you will see some another type of classification there. If you scroll a little bit, you will find scroll up or to some
Scroll
other
up.
place. Yeah, you see there UI,
Hmm.
TS. Okay, what does that mean? That's the second dimension of how things are organized at the same time. That tells or will tell the system where this library is, it needs to be loaded at runtime. Okay,
Okay.
so we are not going to be loading these modules manually, but the system, the platform has an infrastructure that will load it for you at runtime, and we put it ready to use. Let's say, okay.
Okay.
So in this case, it says machine learning UI function libraries. Okay, so this module learning session functions, okay, will be loaded at the UI, essentially at the UI of the platform. Where it says TS, it means that it will be loaded at an application called or at a component called transaction server. Okay, so there are a few abbreviations here: UI, TS, DK, meaning desktop,
Okay.
and a few others. And by the way, these are the only abbreviations you will have to learn because we try to keep the code without abbreviations so that it's very explicit and very easy to read. Okay, one of our
Nice.
goals is that uh, people can read it like easily, and for that we remove almost all abbreviation. But there were some that were very obvious, like UI, and then we add a few more. So there are only 5 or 6 abbreviations to learn. But so to recap this point, the project schema file is the single most important backbone file of the project, is where all the modules are listed. Okay, that means that if you are going to add something, you if you are going to add a new module, then you have to put it somewhere here so that the system loads it at runtime and you can use it. Okay,
Okay.
so that's the overall picture there. It has more details, but the key takeaway is that it disorganizes the different modules in projects, and the organization in projects allows us to have a team dedicated to that and a team responsible for that slice of the system, right? For instance, somebody can be the project leader of machine learning and have a team dedicated to that. And that has the consequences, for example, that whenever pull request comes affecting files of machine learning, the team leader is the one who needs to review that and to merge that part. Okay, so this is a mechanism for scaling in a system that has a lot of things and is growing every day. Okay, it's a big collaboration. And on the other side, the second dimension is these abbreviations there that tells the system where to load this in which application. If it is on the platform UI, if it is on the platform client or on the task server or whatever. From here, from here, uh, there is another explanation that goes very close to this, and is which are the applications that we have, right? and
Sure.
saying that this tell us at which application these modules need to be loaded. So far we have only one application that is ready to use, that is the Superalgos platform, that is a set of tools for algo traders, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
right? The second application we are building is the Superalgos network, that is a peer-to-peer network for exchanging uh, trading signals, for instance, across the internet, okay, over the internet.
Okay.
And then we will build also social trading applications that consume those signals from the peer-to-peer net. So the only application we have so far is the Superalgos platform, and the Superalgos platform has three main components. One is the platform client, that is a node.js process. The second one is a web app that runs the user interface. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the third component is what we call so far the task server. That is also Node.js processes that runs the bots that actually do the trading or the data mining or whatever. So three
Okay.
components in the platform. That is the only thing that we have working. Uh, Platform client, the web app, and the task server.
Okay.
All good
Um,
so far?
yeah, good so far. Um, so I know that there was a new person in the chat the other day who was looking to make some changes to the web app.
Mhm.
Has that finished the migration into the new directory structure?
Um, I don't remember that case or which one because I'm seeing a
I
lot of
think he
stuff.
was in the Discord server, so you may not have seen it.
Oh,
And I
okay.
was trying to help him, and I was a little bit lost myself.
Okay, but
Um,
is it clear for you now with my explanation, or do you have any doubts so far?
um, so what I was going to show, could you point me? So I think all the platform files are all under the platform directory at the top. So we're back at the top of our project here.
Yes, but
Um,
that is not
test.
precise because
Okay.
most of the code is on the projects directory.
Okay.
So I would say like 95% of the code is sliced
Inside here.
in project folders. On the platform, what you have at the platform is the code that is very, very low level stuff
Okay.
to load all this stuff, okay? And then once all these libraries are loaded at runtime, then they use themselves from one to the other freely, okay?
Okay.
And yeah, but most of the code is there, and there is still some remaining code at the platform level, but it's because it still haven't been migrated into here.
Okay. So yeah,
Uh,
this is the final destination of where all of these different things will live eventually.
yes,
Correct. Okay.
yes, 99% will live there.
Okay.
Only the bootstrapping process to load everything into memory is what is left outside, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the majority of, just to continue off the example of the web app, is that mostly under visual scripting, or it kind of depends on which part of the web app I would be looking at? So if I
It
were just
depends.
talking, okay.
It depends because you have to think that the web app is one of the three components of the application, right?
Mm-hmm.
But any of these projects can add functionality to the web app, right?
Okay.
So, for example, the social scripting, the visual scripting project is the one that enables all these nodes in the screen. You can
Okay.
attach node, reference node. All that is the visual scripting, right?
Okay.
Then you have, for example, the social bots that you were working with that enables having social bots. So it has the definition of the announcements, the bots themselves, the test message, and all this stuff. And that is also at the UI, right? So That's why I was trying to explain you that it's not very intuitive, the
Uh-huh.
what I
Okay.
was saying at the project schema file, because it's a file that organizes all these modules in two different dimensions at the same time. Okay.
Okay.
On on one dimension, it organizes all these modules in projects so that we can have a team leader pushing towards a goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting people and pushing towards the goal. And also it helps in the merging of the new code and managing all the stuff. That's one dimension. The second dimension tells the system where it is used. Okay. So any of these projects can declare that some of these modules are going to be run at the UI, right? And by putting them inside that part of the project schema file, the UI bootstrapping process is going to load it into memory, and it's going to make it available to all the other functions running there, to all the other infrastructure up the stack, right? It's going to make it available for anybody to use it. Okay. So that's what I meant with that is classifying in these two dimensions at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. So the second most important thing to understand beyond the project schema file is a concept that we call the app schema app schema file of
Okay.
each node, right? So go to, for instance, Foundation project. Maybe you can do it instead of there in the file system, but there is the same. In the file system, you can open, or in Visual Studio Code, you can open it and we can see the content. Well, here you can see it also as
Sure.
you want. So you can go to schemas, okay?
App schema.
Yeah, app schema. So each project has this folder structure that is more or less the same, okay? So in the platform, we have all these nodes because of the visual scripting functionality and features.
Mm-hmm.
And each node has a definition in this folder, in one file per node, okay? So open any one of these one.
Okay.
Some, okay. And you will see the definition. This is what tells the system which are the menu items, for instance, that the node is going to have. You see there, menu items.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go a little bit down. It tells the system, if you continue to the bottom, in the attaching rules, for example, it tells the system which are the compatible types this node can attach to, right?
Yep.
It tells the system which are the compatible types this node can reference, okay? And it also declares for each node which are the different type of children it can have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just by creating these files and putting the right definitions, you can add more nodes to the system, which is really very easy. The only thing you have to understand is that you have to work with this JSON definition, right?
Right. Okay.
You didn't know about this, right? Before?
It took me a while to get used to this. But I can show that I was working on the Twitter bot last night or 2 nights ago.
Bring it
So
on.
the files that I was working on were under social bots, schemas, app schema,
Yeah.
and then we have the Discord bot, Slack bot, Telegram bot, and the Twitter bot.
It took you a while because nobody explained it to you before.
It's true.
It would
I
have
was
been easier.
I was basically saying at the time when I first started on this, all right, there's a Telegram bot. Let me find everything that has Telegram in it and change that into Discord. I think that was the first one that I worked on. And one of the things that I just learned about the other night was how this action project gets used. And so one of the bugs that I fixed the other night was this social bots didn't have a dash in it, and the workspace JavaScript file wanted it to have a dash in it for the mapping that it was doing. And so it was a very easy fix. Just add the dash in. But yeah, this took me a little bit to kind of understand how this file worked, how the different parts of it worked.
I
Um,
can imagine.
yeah, I'm myself much more of a back end engineer, and so learning about how this project functions and how it pulls in all these different files has been very interesting for me. It's pretty intuitive now that I know about it, and it makes sense to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. That's what usually happen.
Uh huh.
Once you get it, it looks like obvious.
Right.
You look at yes, it cannot be easier than this. You just copy paste one menu item and you replace and put another label,
Yep.
and you have another menu item, and you point it to some other function, and you create another function, and that's it, and it's working.
Yep.
Yeah. So the key or the most important parts of these definitions are, well, the menu items is one. Then if you go down a little bit, you will see, for example, if the node has a configuration or you want to enable the configuration, then you need to add the menu item for entering into the configuration app.
Mhm.
But also you can set up the initial values. This is how you do it. Um, there are details like these add left icons, whatever that those are details.
Mhm.
But the important things are the attaching rules that will tell you can put a list of nodes where your node is going to be able to attach to. That is not
Okay.
necessary its parent, right? A node
Right.
can have a child, but maybe you disconnect it and put it and attach it somewhere else
Mhm.
for whatever reason that we cannot know what people would like to do in the future, right?
Mhm.
And the other very important property is the child, the child's this this node might have. The childs are of two different types. You see, this one is type array. That means it can have multiple childs of the type
Mhm.
social bot command, right? Uh, but the other possible type is node, meaning that it can have only one type or one child. Or,
Okay.
so that's the two possible options there. And the next one is very important always to have it right is the property name at parent. Okay. Probably this is not so intuitive what it means. It means which is the here when you declare a child of the node, you see that it says name, right?
Mhm.
Social dot command. So that means that this node at runtime will be an object that we have a property called social bot command, and that property will be an array of nodes of the type social bot command, right. So the reason you need to declare which is the name of the current node at its parent is for specifically for the functionality when you delete a node. When you press delete from to a node, you need to go and remove it from its parent, right? So
Yes.
we need to know which is the property name of the parent. But the key thing here, the key takeaway is that these are the menu, attaching rules, referencing rules, the child's property parent are things that are the key components here. And with this, you can create as many different type of node as you want. And I expect when people start understanding this, will be able to expand the system in multiple ways, right?
Mhm.
So that's why we're doing this video, so that more developers can understand this. Because once you understand it, you can create a lot of things very quickly.
Okay. Great. Yeah. This was another one that I learned the hard way. When I first created this Twitter bot node, I had the property name. I think I set this with a capital T, and everywhere else it was lowercase t to start. because that's much more of a JavaScript notation.
Yes.
And so I could create the node in the web app in the UI, and then I couldn't delete it. And it kept
Exactly.
complaining that it didn't know what the property name of parent was. And so I finally
Yes.
learned
Exactly for that. Yes.
finally
Because
learned exactly what this is for.
yeah, and it's quite logical because if you have a node, it exists in memory because it's referenced from another place, right? So if
Right.
you want to delete this, you have to delete it at the place where it's referenced, right? So if you have the information of the node, you need to know which is the name of the property at its parent. Okay,
Yeah.
so understanding this is really very important. Uh, and well, that would be the second most important thing I can point to.
Okay.
Do you have any specific questions of what we talked about so
I
far?
do not have any specific questions at the moment. So I guess
But I can continue with the third more important thing if you
yeah,
want.
let's just keep going down the line.
Okay, so now you understand that there are projects, there are applications, that the platform has three components. Okay, which would be the next thing you need to know? Okay, return to the up to the schema of one of these nodes. I will
Okay.
I will explain, yeah, something that is very helpful to understand quickly enough, because with that you can really start doing something at the code base very easy. Enter into one of the nodes with okay, stop there.
Okay.
You see that each menu item, right? A menu item, each one of these declarations is going to essentially add one menu item at the node when you make focus on that node, right?
Right.
So usually you want to execute something, okay? Um, there are a few functions like to add a child or delete a child, or these kind of things are already quite standardized, okay? But you might want to do something custom, let's say, okay? 90% of all these menu item is for adding children or deleting them or entering into configuration. There
Mm-hmm.
are a few cases where you want to, for example, to install a new market, right? So
Sure.
how do you do that? Okay, this here for understanding this, we need to introduce the concept of actions. Okay, the concept, if you see in each menu item, you have an action property with a name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also an action project. Okay, for example, there you are standing at one that it's add UI object, and the action project is visual scripting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does this mean? We have at each project one type of module that are called function libraries. Okay, in function libraries, we usually use them to place the functions that can be executed as actions, right? Okay, so if any object, remember that at the design space, you will have these nodes that will be belonging to different projects potentially, right? For example, your Twitter bot will be in the same workspace where a trading bot is going to be, okay?
Right.
But your Twitter bot definition is the app schema of the social bots project, right? While the trading bot node is defined at the algorithmic trading project, right?
Right.
So that means that you're viewing nodes that belongs or are defined to any different project already in the system, right? So if you're going to execute an action, the system requires you to tell it where is the action, okay? Even if the action if I mean, even if you're placing a menu item on your Twitter bot, that doesn't mean that the action is going to be defined at social bots. Maybe it's about something else. Okay, so why constraining?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what you're saying here, okay, is tell me which project is the action defined
Mm-hmm.
and which is the action name. Okay, so when the user click that menu item, the system is going to route this request to one special uh, module that we have at each project. I will need you to go there. So pick any of the project like foundation, for instance.
Okay.
Foundations, UI, all this is about UI, right?
Yes.
Function libraries. Okay, so as you see, we enter into the function libraries folder. Usually this folder contain this type of modules that we call function libraries, that usually they are actions to be executed from menu items of the nodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at each of the project, uh, we need to have one action switch file. You can enter there, action switch, that essentially is where the execution comes when somebody clicks on a menu item that says the action project is foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and as the name suggests, it has a switch sentence there, so, where we go through all the action names, okay? And when we get the action name that people click it, then we execute a function in one of the function libraries defined at that project, right?
Right.
So what does this mean? That if you want to create a new action for any project you're working on, for your Twitter bot, for example, an action that do whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
like a test or whatever, send a test tweet, let's say, from your Twitter bot. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you go to the app schema of the Twitter bot, you add a new menu item, you put an action name that is related to what you're going to do. You put that the action project is social bots in this case. Okay, you go to your action switch uh, module, and you add one more case in the already existing ones. Okay,
Sure.
of course, if your project doesn't have an action switch because it doesn't have any action, you have to create it, copy it from some other project, and remove all the cases. And you create one more switch here, and if there is already a library uh, in that project, like
Mm-hmm.
a function library, then that makes sense adding your new function there, then you add it there, right? And if not, you create a new function library, you put your function there, and you need not to forget to declare this new function library inside the project schema files, right?
Sure.
And then you type the code of your new function, and that should work. That is everything you need to know to add a new action for any of the nodes that you have created. Is this clear?
Yes. Clear to
So did you
me.
know about this, all this stuff?
I found out again the hard way,
You already know it all.
trying to add in these Twitter bots and Discord and Slack. Um, and I believe for anybody following along, this dot notation here essentially links back to a folder structure. Is that correct?
It's very
So we
similar
have
to,
so we
yeah,
have UI, and then our function libraries, and then your different functions under here.
yeah, it's very
So our
similar.
task
Yeah,
functions are where
and
all
also
of
it's,
these run task, stop task.
yes, and probably
So
that's a
here's
good
our
a good extra thing of the point where we are now. Get to the place of the dot notation you have seen.
which one are you thinking about specifically?
Go back to where you were before.
Here, or the action
Yes,
switch.
action switch. Yes, it's okay.
Okay.
Yes. So I will explain you this. These are what I call root objects, right? I mean, the first one, that is UI, is is a root object that is
Mm-hmm.
available, okay, at any place in the UI, okay. So you will always have access to this UI object, and you put dot projects means that you want to access something from the project. So inside projects, you have one property for each project. So foundation is one of the projects that we declare on the project schema. Remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can put UI projects foundations. Then foundations at the project schema have declaration of function libraries, okay? So that's why you can continue with that function libraries.
Mm-hmm.
And in function library, there is one that is called task functions. If you actually go to the project schema file, you will see that in the array of function library modules, there is one that is called task functions.
Mm-hmm.
And that task function module has a function called run task, right? And that is how easily you access any of the functions that anybody created so far without having to instantiate them or to do almost anything, because everything is preloaded just because it's declared at the project schema file and is organized, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So to extend a little bit on this, which are the root objects available? At the UI, at the UI of the platform, you have this one called UI, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There is also another one that is called SI, meaning Superalgos, because there was, what it means is that uh, inside that one, SA, there are like modules that are reused between different applications. If you go to the project schema,
Under here,
yes, you
or
can see it
sorry, under
easily
projects.
at the project schema file.
This one here.
Well, yeah, well, it would be better to load it on a code editor, because here you cannot collapse the stuff. But you will find that, as you can see there, TS,
Uh-huh.
like UITS, there is one abbreviation that is SA, Superalgos. That means there are modules that are not for the UI specifically, or not for the client specifically, or not for the task server specifically, but they are meant to be loaded everywhere, right?
Okay.
For example, if you have some globals like those one, time constraints, okay? Some functions related to calculations of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the same functions are usually needed both at the UI, at the client, and at the task server, right? So we don't want to repeat the same functions everywhere. So how do we do that? We put this module inside the SA root object, right? So that means that the system is going to load everything inside there at the UI, at the client, and at the task server. And you will have access to the same library everywhere, right?
Right.
You didn't know that. You didn't figure it out that yet. I
I
thought you did.
did in a way. I haven't had to do anything like this yet, but I did have to add in a couple of node modules, and that is how I learned how the node modules are shared globally now, is through this SA um,
Yes. If they are inside the
object.
SA root object, if they are inside TS or task server root
Hmm.
object, then it's not shared. It's not shared globally. So obviously, if you are writing something from the for the task to run at the task server, then you will have access not to the UI root object, you will have access to the TS
Okay.
root object, right?
So just to clarify again, you said that the SA object is loadable in both the web app and the task server. Is that correct?
Yes, it's
Okay,
available, let's say,
it's available.
because you are not the one loading it. It's loaded by the system.
Right. Sorry, yes. Okay.
You just use it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the differences between the module types. You have utility globals. Some are like obvious. Globals are usually global declarations. Utilities, we are using it in for more lower level stuff, like you know, calculate an ID or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Well, developers already have the concept of utilities. The ones that have it like a special meaning are these function libraries that are mostly for being repository of functions to be actions that are executed as actions. And there is another type of category there that is called modules. Okay, so this one has a slight difference that is not obvious to guess it at first. Maybe you see there. If I maybe you can search for quote modules quote. There. Okay. So what's the difference this with utilities? Well, utilities usually are more low level, but one of the key difference there is that utilities and all the others are functions that are like ready to use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can access via the root object and you follow all the dot notation path and you just go and use the functions because they are already instantiated, right?
Sure.
Here in modules, the system is going to load the module dependency itself, but it's not instantiated. That means that you have to instantiate it and
Okay.
use it. And it's useful because in some cases, you don't need only one instance of something. You need
Mm-hmm.
multiple instances, right?
Okay.
So in those situations, instead of going somewhere, they are going in modules so that you have access you have access to the module like it's already required, let's say, uh, and the only thing you have to do is to instantiate it, and then you use it so that you're free to instantiate as many as you want. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so that should clarify a lot and save a lot of time to new developers,
Yeah. Good to know.
I guess.
I haven't run into that yet, but maybe soon.
Hmm. Okay, cool. What else would you like to know?
Well, we have a little bit under 20 minutes left. Um, what else? What else may be coming down the pipeline for the code base? I guess the immediate work that you've been doing has been a lot of the governance system and
Yes. Do you have in hand
and
the
reorganizing all this into the projects, setting up the project teams.
Yes, the thing is that the system was not always like this. I mean, organized in this way. This
Mm-hmm.
evolved into this. Okay, nobody wakes up one day and say, "Let me organize, I don't know, 500 different modules in 2 dimensions." That's not happening. So it evolved because of necessity into this
Uh-huh.
way. So that means that there are things still in the old way, right? If, I don't know if a year ago uh, Superalgo was not multi-project; it was just one piece of stuff, big
Mm-hmm.
and complex. So the first evolution was to make this separate a few projects, split it into a few projects, and uh, the rest is still under the project that is called Foundations. Okay,
Okay.
what it means foundation, in other words, is everything that haven't been split into projects yet, essentially. Okay, it's
Okay.
not the real foundation. Foundation is like a cool name for that, but you can imagine foundations are everything that is inherited from the previous versions that haven't been split yet. Okay, so last month there were like 6 projects overall, Ethereum, TensorFlow, machine learning, and a few others, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Education, and foundation. So one of the work that I've done in the last month was to extract from foundations like 5 or 6 more projects, okay? Visual scripting, social bots, plugins, blah, blah, blah. So now there are like 13 projects, okay? But in foundations, there are still a lot inside there that needs to be taken out, okay? But taking that out has the inconvenience that besides being quite boring job, taking this out because you're not doing anything new and still you have to keep it from breaking. Um, it also destabilizes the system, so we cannot do it like all the time. But I expect that at some point we have to stop a little bit and take out some more projects, or maybe if more people come in, new developers, and they want to take one of the projects that are still in there, maybe they can take it out, but they will have to know all this stuff before trying to take it out. But
Sure.
taking a project out from foundation is essentially reorganizing where the modules that already exist are inside the project schema file, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Then moving the code from the foundation directory into their own new project directory, okay? Making a lot of refactoring to make all things match, and then hopefully it start working in the new place. But it's essentially that. Yeah. But it's a yeah. So that's what I did this month, or half of the month was working on this.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Um,
besides, yeah,
no, go ahead. I was going to
no,
try and come up with a question.
it's okay. So I wrote a post today talking about these projects and listing all the projects, and there are, besides the ones that need to be taken out of foundations, there are a lot of project ideas for people to take, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and to develop if they wish. And one of those ideas is a portfolio manager, okay,
Okay.
portfolio management project. That in fact is something that already started because it's something that Phil need for his trading strategies. So we were talking about last week, and we decided that maybe it was a good time, instead of wiring and doing something strange at the strategy level,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the right thing is to go and create a project out of that and create all the infrastructure to support portfolio managing, like, okay, with everything well connected to the rest of the system, and leveraging all the infrastructure that is already there. So we wrote together a document uh, that has the basic uh, path to create this new project, and that is what I posted today on the forum, so that people can join also if they want. But essentially, Phil is going to be dedicated to this until we pull it out. I will help him a little bit.
Okay.
Uh, so once that's there, we will have the capacity to run multiple trading bots that can be managed by a portfolio manager bot. Okay, a portfolio bot. What does that mean? It means that um, these trading bots, the assets they will use, they might not know them when they start, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be told which asset they need to take, and probably from which exchange, or maybe not. I don't know. But that's one of the key things. The other is that when they are going to enter into a position or take one position, they are going to ask the manager, or the portfolio manager is the one who is going to decide which size they are going to enter with. Okay,
Okay.
and once they are managing the position, we will have like a two-way communication, in the sense that the portfolio manager might decide to increase the size or to decrease the size, because it's supposed to be looking at the big picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
The portfolio manager will have available for its own logic all the indicators that he wants, and also it will have all the balances of these assets at the exchanges, and and it will have logic that people can write, okay, to trigger this kind of events. For example, increasing the size or decreasing the size. Okay, so you will be able to set up situations and conditions and coding in which situation you would like the portfolio manager to trigger an increase of size of a certain type of strategy that is supervising, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or decreasing the size. And on the other side, the strategies themselves, the trading bot, they might want also to increase or decrease the size, but if they are being managed by a portfolio manager, they
Mm-hmm.
will have to request that idea to see if they get approved or not, or they get the right size to increase or to decrease, right?
Okay.
So that is what we have in mind. Yeah, it's going to be powerful because, as always, there is no limit in the amount of bots, trading bots you can manage.
Mm-hmm.
There is no limit in the amount of machines you can use for running these bots. So they can be spread across hundreds of machines potentially. And also there's no limit on the information that the portfolio manager can base its decisions, right? You can be based on the information of not only all the indicators that we have, but also all the balances of all the assets on different exchanges. But also the portfolio manager will be have access to all the outputs of all the trading bots. So everything you see today at the charts or at the panels or at the trading engine when you're visually debugging, that you visually see or can read all that information, the portfolio manager will have access to all of that information. So from all that information, you can make the situations and conditions that uh, can trigger these events to increase the size or to decrease the size of each
Okay.
of the strategies that are being managed. So it's, in my view, is as powerful as it can be.
Yeah. So to me, as a very unexperienced trader, that sounds like automatic rebalancing across all of your assets, and and you mentioned across different exchanges as well.
It can be used for rebalancing, yes, but also it can be for deciding which strategy to run, because you might be monitoring multiple markets, multiple markets,
Mm-hmm.
and then the only thing you do is to increase the size, and you have all the strategy running with zero size.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see an opportunity in one market, then you increase the size of one particular strategy,
Okay.
looking at that market, right? So it's also for this kind of situation at the same
Okay.
time.
That's pretty interesting. Sounds very powerful.
Yes, I think Carl is going to like this because he
Yeah.
was trying to do this for a while, hitting his head against the wall for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other new things may be coming down the pipeline? I know that there's a couple that have kind of already made their way into the code base, like the social trading, and I guess the P2P signals.
Yes, I am already developing that, but
Okay.
sometimes I have to stop it to continue with other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few people interested in helping there. But the peer-to-peer network it has some work already there. Uh, if I could focus on that maybe for a month, maybe
Mm.
it could have something working there. And on the social apps, also, there's some people willing to take that. So if they actually do it, maybe we could have something to see next month, at the end of
Okay.
next month.
But
But
those
yeah,
are
but I mean,
those are two areas definitely looking for more people to join up and participate and contribute.
yes, yes, yes. And there are many other ideas, cool ideas too,
Hmm.
like trading stock, and there are a lot of things more. But
Yeah,
I
I think
think
I've seen
I'm
people
out of time.
mention futures and stocks recently, and I guess there's been a couple of asks for margin trading as well. I'm not sure if
Yes, there at my
CCXT.
post, there is a complete list of everything I remember that has been talked about new project ideas.
Okay.
So yeah, so whenever there's somebody willing to do something or have free time, maybe he can take one of these ideas and move it forward.
We have about 5 minutes left before I have to run. Is there anything else that you can think of in particular that you'd like to point out to the code base? Something that people frequently ask about in Telegram or anything worth mentioning before we move on for the
Well,
day?
what I would say is that whoever is willing to contribute here, they can start just by fixing stuff that they see broken. There
Mm-hmm.
are still some out there. They can improve things that they see that they can do better, and that's how usually people start, right? And then they can start once they figure out a little bit the code base more with this explanation. They can focus in some areas of the system that that looks more attractive to them, right?
Okay.
You say you're a backend guy. Some people are like more front end, or maybe they like the charting, or they like the visual scripting. So if somebody calls your attention, then maybe you would like to join the team working on there. There are many projects that don't have a team leader yet, or a team even.
Mm-hmm.
So these projects are on my name because mostly I code them myself, but I'm actively looking for team leaders who want to take them and to continue and to iterate them. Okay, so the strategy here is that this system is going to continue growing because we don't have a specific objective, right?
Right.
It's a permissionless project where anybody can come and say, I'm going to do connect this and trade stock or trade whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
do even potentially not trading, something else. Okay? So essentially, if somebody has time and want to contribute, they can start in this way, but also there is an opportunity to take any of these projects because the strategy is to continue adding more projects. And if a project gets too big, then we split it into smaller pieces and we continue like fractally so that if we could have eventually one maintainer or with a small team of people working in every corner of the system and it's always evolving, okay,
Mm-hmm.
then that would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
The problem we have right now is that many of these projects still belong to me, and when I'm focused on something, everything else is not advancing, it's not moving,
Right.
right? Okay, so that's why we need more developers to put it in all these places so that they can move each of these wheels forward and nothing stays static, essentially.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this video spurs some new people to join and jump in. I think the explanations given were very valuable, things that I had to kind of stumble through when I was getting started. And yeah, I had a lot of fun walking through the code base with you today. And this was actually
Me
our
too.
very first conversation in person, well, virtually in person. So it was a pleasure to finally meet you, Luis.
Well, a pleasure to be here and to meet you too. Thanks for having me. And anybody watching this, contact me if you're interested in, and I will help you in your own onboarding so that you can get up to speed like without so many troubles like you, Brett. That nobody helped you
No, it's
with
fine.
the
There's
bug.
plenty of help in the Telegram channels and
Yeah.
Discord. We're trying to get the Reddit subreddit going, and a new forum is starting on superalgos.org. And there's Twitter also. Go ahead, send questions, whatever, through any of those channels, and somebody will get back to you. Luis definitely spends a lot of time helping, and I know that it takes a lot out being poked on the shoulder so much and trying to focus your attention helping others when there's so much to do still in the code base.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a pleasure. Unfortunately, I have to wrap this up. I have to get to another meeting, but hopefully we can do this again soon, and maybe we can
Yes,
go
yes,
over a
yes.
couple more
Definitely.
questions or something that people frequently ask in the code base.
Yes, let's continue it. It's
All
amazing.
right,
Yeah. Thank
excellent.
you, Brett.
No problem. All right, until next time, signing off. See you all later.
See you.